Everybody, welcome to another edition of the Daily Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me today, as she often does, and I greatly appreciate it, Amanda Suffecool. Amanda is Eye on the Target Radio. I hope you're watching or actually listening to. You couldn't watch it this past Sunday, but I hope you're catching her nationally syndicated radio program each and every weekend. Amanda, thanks for joining us again today.
Oh, Paul, anytime. You call and I will do everything I can to, because I'm your biggest fan, to be a supporter.
The fandom is mutual. Let's put it that way. Let me go ahead and get the social media hooked up here. Let's see, come on. And turn this on. There we go.
I love it how our listeners get to see the behind the scenes look where you're like muttering and tapping and
it would be so, YouTube lets me set up everything in advance so that the social media is all connected, and when I'm live I've got already the comments preloaded. Facebook makes me wait until I am live before connecting anything. So, those of you who are up and on YouTube, you already have the link. But Amanda, you brought this to my attention. I'm gonna work on getting the link over to the people who are on Facebook.
Okay.
Everybody on YouTube, you can already see the link. You want to tell people what I'm going to be shooting over to them?
Right. Well, there's a letter that just went out, and it is addressed to the Honorable Merrick Garland and the Honorable Marvin Richardson, the acting director of the BATFE, and I have to say that I really didn't know Marvin Richardson's name. That's not one that's been in my radar, but anyhow, I digress. So this is a letter from 142 of our federal congressmen and women, and I'm going to read you a couple paragraphs. Just chew, kind of. There's some stuff in the middle of that, but we write to you today to express our deep concern regarding the recent BATFE notice for the proposed guidance in factoring criteria for firearms with attached stabilizing braces. This proposed guidance is alarming and jeopardizes the rights of law-abiding gun owners and disabled combat veterans from across the country. So that's the first. So then it goes into some stuff in the middle. Let's see. We are disturbed, this is the third paragraph, we are disturbed that a government agency would issue guidance that would tax and take away the abilities of tens of millions of Americans, including disabled veterans, to enjoy constitutionally protected rights. In fact, the ATF seems committed to attacking the constitutionally protected rights of all law-abiding citizens. And then it goes on from there. But there is a stack, and I don't know if you can see the sheer quantity of signatures. So I posted this on my Facebook page. Paul has just put it on YouTube and on Facebook because I'd like you to look at your congressman to see if they're there. And they are on this list in alphabetical last name order. So look to see if your congressman is there. The interesting thing is how many congressmen are there? Paul, what's the number?
435.
Okay, I have 142 on this list. So where are the rest of them? So
we're short almost 300.
We're short almost 300. So I am in a county where we have 3 congressmen that cross over this county, and one of my 3 is on here, and 2 of my 3 are not. One of the ones that's missing is a Democrat, and one of the ones that's missing is a Republican. So that's it. So look to see if yours is there, and then share it with them. See if they will sign on. See if they will say, yeah, me too, something, because it's a really, really, well, they're Congress. They're good at writing. It's a really well-written letter that really cuts to the heart of what the ATF is doing to the American citizens, which is not protecting our rights by any means at all, but seems committed to attacking the constitutionally protected rights of all law-abiding citizens. That's what they're saying, and we tend to agree with them.
Yes, absolutely. The other thing that I want to bring up is, and I talked with last week when Dan was on with me. There's a point system in this proposed rulemaking, and I looked this point system over, and I can't see where any proposed AR pistol and brace combination will be legal. All proposed.
Yeah, it's written to make you feel like is written to make you feel like you stand a chance, but there's no chance.
No, and so right now, if you've got an AR or an AK with a brace, you're going to end up either turning it in or owing $200. One of the two.
Well, there's 3 options.
Destroying it.
No, there's 4 options.
Okay.
And the 4th one would be the same thing that happened when they started to do the machine gun licensing, and that is 50 years later somebody finds it and it has no papers. That's really the issue is what kind of a. We've seen history do this. I'm not a proponent of it, because should they, the value of this is going to be set in something, because they're going to stop them manufacturing it, in my opinion. But should you just go along, our scope's going to be next. Okay. I don't think that comment went where you wanted it to go, because it went where my name is.
Oh, I don't think it went where I wanted it to go.
That wasn't where you wanted it to be. So it replaced my name.
Yes, I need to do that. One moment.
But I don't, that's a good question. The real question is, instead of our scope's going to be next, the real question is, what is going to be next? Because it's going to be something else they're going to choose to take offense at, whatever that is, whatever that is. So it's bump stocks. It's, I honestly believe that the next thing that's going to come is any of the trigger work. So any of the drop-in triggers, any of that kind of stuff, that's where I think they'll go next. I'm just calling it, and I could be completely wrong, but that's kind of where I think they'll start to go.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, if this goes through, it's going to be similar to what happened. Let's face it, New Jersey did what New Jersey does very often. They banned bump stocks before the federal government did. And I think what's going to happen nationwide is what happened in New Jersey when they banned bump stocks. New Jersey said, turn them all in. You got until this day. How many did New Jersey get? 0. Guess how many the federal government is going to get? The exact
I think
same
the word
number.
is butt kiss. Yeah, Nothing. Yep, nothing. Got it.
How many dollars is the federal government going to get? They may get a couple, and I'm seriously in the single digits number of people that register them.
No. I think they'll get more. And the reason that I think they'll get more is that some are going to hedge their bets saying they're going to be made illegal, so then mine is going to increase in value. So I think that there's that. And then there's going to be all the mask wearers in the country are going to be like, I have one of these and I must obey. So anyhow, we've all seen it, we've seen the sheeple, we've seen, whether it starts out as a good idea or not, whatever that is. So I believe there will be more people that register than that. Yeah.
Well, and John may have a point. Blue State may just say you don't have the option to get it. You
just can't have it.
Yes.
Right. So for those of you guys who don't know the blue state versus red state thing, blue ones start with a D, the red ones start with an R.
The red ones are flyover country.
Yeah, there you go. Something like that. A little bit of that. So actually, we had 3 topics for today. So we had that letter. We also had the other ATF, the drum that we've been beating, which is Chipman, and it's coming up. It is really coming up. Did you see on Facebook, and I don't know who they got it from. I didn't recognize this name. Somebody wrote them a letter, and they were kind of griping because they'd written this well-drafted letter about Chipman and why they don't want him. And they got back a form letter that had Chipman's name in the first paragraph and then had Mr. Smith in the second paragraph and Mr. Smith in the third paragraph. So obviously, Mr. Smith goes to Washington is part of the David Chipman thing. I don't know. But so they were kind of cranked about the fact that they spent all this time and effort and energy to draft a well-crafted letter, and they get back a Mr. Smith form letter. Yes. We've been telling everybody, you're really just a hash mark in the plus column or the minus column. That's really it. So don't spend a ton of time. Don't call them names. Don't swear at them. But don't spend a ton of time, sitting there sweating over a hot pen saying, do I use this word or do I use that word? And do I have to look it up in Grammarly? No. Just make the sentence so they know which column to put the checkbox.
I have been getting private messages from another person that lives here in South Dakota on Facebook, and I just love this. The guy has been doing exactly what I've been recommending and calling the Sioux Falls and Aberdeen and Pierre and Rapid City offices of our senators. And he doesn't live in the Sioux Falls area. And recently, one of the staffers in Sioux Falls asked the guy where he's from, and the guy told him, why are you calling the Sioux Falls office? And the guy just flat told him, look, I just want to be a check mark on your columns. And he said he could hear the smile in the guy's voice. He says, I'll pass your opinion along. So
there you go. I'm a check mark.
Yeah.
That's it. It's true. And
word is getting out, and people are doing it, and I appreciate those that are. Yes, call Washington, D.C., but call your local offices too.
Yep, a little bit of both. That's right. So, because Chipman, what's the word you're hearing on the street next week, the week after, this month?
And maybe as early as Friday is what the word I'm getting is. Possibly as early as Friday, the Senate will move to approve Chipman.
I want them not to come out of committee. I want it to not come out of committee. I keep saying that. That's what I want.
The best of all situations.
That would be.
And we are being heard, because I'm seeing a lot of stories where there's getting pushback.
Right.
But we need to keep our foot on the throttle. We need to, if anything, increase the pressure.
Right. Yep. Let them know. Really, really, really let them know. So, okay. So is there any other comments from anybody on those 2 topics?
They're just we're getting comments about what people think are going to be happening next. One interesting one that I'm going to bring up is Scott Mason thinks they're going to try to shut down firearms manufacturing and ammo manufacturing.
Well, they've already weaponized the EPA, and so they've used the EPA to stop the smelting of lead or to stop the mining of lead. And then when they start to look at powder manufacturers, primer manufacturers, they've made it so difficult that most of it's not illegal, but they've punished them so severely that most of it is moved offshore. So we're already step 1 to that. And the interesting part is that since we have this whole thing about the military and how do you arm the military and how do you supply the military and how do you stock the military, and the military can only buy a certain amount of stuff that is offshore, what do they do with the ammo? I mean, I don't know what they do with that. I know that like uniforms and gear, they can only buy 10% that is not U.S. manufactured. So where do they stand with ammo? And does it have to be Is it assembled in the United States good enough, or manufactured in the United States? It's sort of like we watch with the steel and stuff. They're trying to do the same. They're trying to do that same kind of thing. So I don't disagree. And I think that part of it is that Americans have this whole not in my backyard thing. I don't want this and I don't want that and I don't want that in my community. But I want to buy it. I want to use it. I want to eat it. I want to drive it. I want to sit on it, whatever that is. But I don't want it made near me.
Well, and you work in aerospace manufacturing is your day job.
Right.
Believe it or not, being a nationally syndicated radio host doesn't pay all the bills.
Imagine that.
But we've had a discussion before, and I know that you have to account for the country. When you buy
country
beef,
of origin.
When you buy beef, the beef could come from Canada, Mexico, Argentina, Australia. You don't ever know. But as a manufacturer, you have to know where the tin comes from. You have to know where the lead, the copper, the zinc, you have to know where everything comes from, and the paperwork and all that is ridiculous. Well, every part of firearms and every part of ammunition, I would imagine, is entangled in all that mess as well.
Yeah, so part of it will be caught in the Dodd-Frank stuff, where they're looking for conflict minerals and things that were mined in the Congo and that. So there's tin, and there's like 4 or 5 different materials that are conflict mineral based. And for work, which is where I know them, tin is the one that we use. But so and that has to be traced back. So even if there's a trace of it, you know where it came from. So metal, when you're doing something, well, frankly, something for the government or something for aerospace, you need to know where it was smelted, what was all included in it, where it was milled, where it was rolled, all of that, every hand that it went through, to make sure that everything is above board. And we're actually also required to not only know what supplies and what materials it is, but then we're also on a periodic basis required to do a double check where we send it out to a lab to confirm that it is exactly everything that everybody said it was. So government contracts are the same kind of thing. So when we're really talking about the protection of the United States through the military, you'll get a lot of that traceability issues. But the EPA's doesn't tie with the military and the military supply chain. So it really is a kind of a battle from one to the other. It's a conflict, if you will.
Well, and none of it makes it any less expensive.
Oh no. Nope. The more people who touch it and the more paper we trace, yep.
All government intervention makes it more expensive. So
right.
Diane makes a great comment. The government shouldn't be making money from our Second Amendment rights. Don't infringe on my rights. 2A is not a privilege. Amen.
Right. We had a governor here in Ohio that at one time said that the government shouldn't be doing anything that the business is already in the phone book. And I thought that was a brilliant line. And so he was a great guy right up until he switched parties in the middle of the election cycle. So.
Okay.
So we'll just say he was one thing until he wasn't, and it was a surprise.
Okay. That with a philosophy like that, that's unusual that he would go
No, he flipped.
The other side.
Or he took all of his marbles and went home, one of the two. It wasn't pretty. We'll just say.
What's the it reminds me in almost all the movies that you see, things don't work out well for traders, because when a trader switches sides and they get to meet the leader of the side they're switching to, they're almost always killed because, well, if you betrayed one side, you're going to betray the other. And
wouldn't you think they'd learn from that?
Yes.
You'd think.
one would hope they would. So
they're not. No.
Anyway, no, and especially I would never, if somebody at one point were to have run on taking my gun rights away, I'm never going to vote for them, period. I'm
not going to believe they're switching. Yeah.
Right.
That they believe something different.
They believe in that I should have guns. I'm not going to buy it.
They had an epiphany, Paul. Can't people change?
Sure. And they can change, and I'm glad you've had that epiphany, but I'm not going to put you in a position of responsibility.
Right. I'm not trusting you. Exactly.
All right. Where you at? Well, no, we haven't. We're kind of light on the comments today. So.
Okay. Well, I have a third topic. Let me toss this one out. How about the brand new offered book by YHUDA Reamer, Bullet Points, Reasons Why Americans Should Embrace Common Sense Gun Laws, and then why the Second Amendment world lost their collective minds about this. This would be that thing where you get to see how many people read the headline, never read any further, and then send it out and do a big blast about it. And they're all, social justice warrior, blah. And it was like they got so much egg on their face. There
was one evening of great wailing and gnashing of teeth. Folks, I've always done, since I started doing my tiny little podcast, my life has been open book. And Sunday night I was in the hospital, and it was a great evening to sit and watch social media, because I couldn't do much else. I was in the hospital. But to sit and watch social media and watch people lose their minds over the title of this book. And the book, honestly, is one printed page with a couple hundred of empty pages of empty, just blank pages behind it.
Guys, he's selling a notebook with a really cool cover.
Yeah.
Right? It's a notebook with a really cool cover. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you guys didn't live through the 80s when everybody had one of these kind of books, and you could get them leather bound, you could get them whatever, that were blank inside. And they were actually made with like little headings on them outside, everything I ever knew about blah, and they'd make them embarrassing. So everything I ever knew about sex, or everything I ever knew about cars, or everything I ever knew about, and they would be out there. But
the collective intelligence of everything men know about women. Exactly.
Right. Well, that would have been a tiny little book.
But yeah, I got to say, for YHUDA, our good friend, troll level on that one is master, because
exactly.
I'm sure he did that with the intention of making people lose their minds, and goal was accomplished. He
accomplished it, but he got 10,000 Instagram followers. He kicked up to the next level because people were troll level master. Yeah, so it was a good. He's a thinker, and it was a good and entertaining evening. So I understand that in the humor section of Amazon, he's like number 18 right now.
Right.
So if you guys want to support YHUDA and you want a really cool notebook that you could go to and take your gun classes with, so that you could keep all your notes in one place and you know exactly where they're at, that would be the purchase point for the week. Yeah.
If that thing would have come out 2 weeks ago, it would have been really cool to go to a Masada U group class and have Mass sign the damn thing. That would
have Right. Exactly.
Or if you happen to have Masada U coming to your area of the country, I'm not going to be hosting any more classes, but I still heartily endorse going to his training.
I'm telling you, it was amazing. It was a great class. And it was a great class. It's well worth your time and effort to go do it.
Absolutely. And I got to say, Amanda, you beat our mutual friend Charlie Cook by 1 point. in the qualifications.
And yes, I did. So I'll take that. The other part is, I think I actually think I tied him because I think my target was scored wrong. But I'm not telling him that. So don't tell Charlie, but I'm not telling him that. But even if he did know that, I'm just going to say that that the length of barrel of my gun was 75% of the length of the barrel of his gun, or maybe even a little less. Maybe it was, 72%. It's because I had a 3.1 inch barreled gun, and he was shooting a 4.5. So I'm going to say basic math says that it was harder with my gun.
Well, yeah, but if for no other reason, it's because you had a shorter sight radius.
Right. Yeah. So the basic thing like that. But and there's a lot of people who tell me, well, you ought to take classes with a bigger gun. And it's like, well, no, I'm going to take classes with the gun I carry, because of what I want to get good at is the gun I carry. What I want to aim with is the gun I carry. What I want to work with is the gun I carry. I'm not necessarily there to get a great score, though beating Charlie was fun. I'm there to increase my skill level with the tools that I use.
One last thing, we're coming down to the bottom of the hour. You're going to be doing something not this week, but next week that is also very cool. You are going to be staying right there in your home state of Ohio, but you're going to more training next week.
Right.
What training are you going to be going through next week?
I am taking the FASTER class, which is faster, and I never can remember what FASTER stands for. Faculty, Administration, Safety, something. But what it is Ohio is the premier. They lead the country in teaching teachers how to have a self-defense plan. So they arm teachers, they work with teachers, and they do first aid, and they do shooting, with teaching teachers how to protect their students. And it's not just teachers, the lunch lady, the school administrator, the janitor, whoever is in the school who is ever hands on deck protecting the United States' most valuable resource, which is our children. And so this year, because the schools don't quite know whether who's in school, who's out of school, who's going back, who's doing it from home, who's doing remote, what all that thing is, the FASTER classes didn't fill up like they have in the prior years. And so they opened it to media to let us get a feel for it. And I know that there's some rules that we can take pictures of other media, but we can't take pictures that may include other people, because they keep it really secret as to which schools have school people in the classes and which schools are armed and which schools are not. And that is for the school to share that information should they choose to, though they strongly recommend that the schools don't. So I know that Ohio has 88 counties, and there is at least one armed school in every one of the 88 counties within the state of Ohio. I know other states bring people in and teach them, and they take it back trying to start it in their state.
If you think about it, that's just smart, because if there's, let's say you've got 30 schools, and the criminal knows that there are 10 schools with armed teachers, you don't want the criminal to know which 10 schools they are.
Exactly.
So you want there to be a guessing game, because you don't want the criminal to attack any of the schools. So you want them to think as many as possible are hard targets.
But they're going to be a hard target. And when data says that as soon as someone pushes back to an active killer, the active killer stops in some way. He self-terminates, he is terminated, or he gives up. One of the three. But they typically do not continue on. They're looking for a soft target, and they are traditionally extremely bullyish and want to persevere and win. And when someone else has the ability to win over them, they quit playing.
All right. Well, we are past the bottom of the hour, so it's time for us to go ahead and shut it down. Everybody, thank you for watching. Come join me again tomorrow, 5 p.m. Central Time. Dan Waz will be on deck tomorrow for his Wednesday appearance again this week. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Come join us again tomorrow for another Daily